It was time for a monumental breakout for another historic quartet from Britain that evoked Beatlemania excitement, but they needed to shake things up with a new approach and a fresh perspective to meet their destiny. The backstory of why Violator became a landmark album for Depeche Mode, next on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you want to go deeper, much deeper into the songs and the albums that made up or make up the soundtrack of your life, subscribe below to our channel right now. Make sure to click the bell so you never miss out. You can also become a curator, a historian, and get even more content if you click on our Patreon link below. Help us keep the music alive. Really excited about this episode. You know, after nearly a decade since the formation of the band, the popularity of Depeche Mode, it steadily grew from cult status to riot-inducing megastardom. I mean, Depeche Mode's 1987 album was given the tongue-in-cheek title music for the masses. But it really foreshadowed the album that would indeed vault them into enormous success with the masses, you know, whether they were ready for it or not. March 19, 1990. It was an exciting day for the burgeoning Black Swarm as it marked the release of Depeche Mode's 7th album, Violator. I mean, by the time Violator was released, Depeche Mode could already sell out the Pasadena Rose Bowl. That meant 70,000 tickets. No small feat. Depeche Mode agreed to do an in-store appearance the day after the release of Violator at a warehouse record store in LA. And the estimated crowd was between 15 and 20,000 people that showed up for a chance to meet the band. Fans, began to secure their place in line by camping out days before the in-store. The massive crowd wreaked so much havoc on the nearby streets that police shut down the in-store after only 1 hour. It nearly sparked a riot. Apparently, the record store, Sire Records, K-Rock Radio, even the band themselves, they completely underestimated just how popular Depeche Mode had become, even in their biggest market. Okay, I wanted to take a quick break to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear, which makes this possible. I wanted to show you what my sunglasses look like, or my glasses look like that I was just wearing, with the clip-on sunglasses that you can get from Zenni. I also have another pair that I ordered with these as well. Summer's coming, you gotta get your sunglasses. Go to Zenni.com. They have so many styles, colors, you design your own. They got the blue blocks, they got the sunglasses, they have everything. You're gonna love it. Zenni.com. Back to Depeche Mode. While designing the project that became Violator, Mute Records founder and trusted DM collaborator Daniel Miller, he sensed that the band that he signed to his label in 1980, they had the potential for a huge breakout. Now, in order to reach new heights for Violator, Miller felt the band needed what he called a new perspective. Miller enlisted the talents of Mark Ellis, professionally known as Flood, to produce Violator. Now, Flood's philosophy, it was simple. Throw away the playbook and create an environment in the studio that was spontaneous and fun. Normally, Martin L. Gore would arrive at a new recording session, armed with a batch of songs that were studio ready. Gore followed the plan, and he abandoned his usual formula, bringing in, unfinished demos that left room for the entire band to be involved in the creation, the creative process of the music. Flood worked really well with Depeche Mode's underappreciated keyboardist and composer, the great Alan Wilder. The duo worked till all hours of the night to create inspired soundscapes with sparse arrangements that provided the deep and atmospheric framework for Violator. Another invaluable contributor to the Violator ensemble was engineer Francois Kevorkian. Kevorkian, who had collaborated with Kraftwerk on their acclaimed 86 LP Electric Cafe, he brought an innovative electro influence to the final mix of the album, very important. Violator, while more stripped down than earlier recordings, was wildly adventurous. It was full of fascinating anomalies and embellishments. So let's pay tribute to this amazing assemblage of musical perfection by a re-examination of the first cut on Violator, World in My Eyes. Let me show you the world in my eyes. World in My Eyes It's the perfect lead track for Violator, with Depeche Mode taking us on a journey where pleasure reigns supreme and nothing else matters, as our tour guide, Dave Gahan, persuades his lover to let your mind do the walking and let my body do the talking. For the ultimate indulgence between two people. In our mind's eye, we're seeing a hedonistic world through the lens of Martin Gore and experiencing the towering vocal seduction of Dave Gahan. World in My Eyes is just one of those classic Martin Gore compositions that expresses his personal desires that we can borrow for our own private dalliances. The song begins with two disoriented melodies that are coalesced by an Alan Wilder programmed drum machine that drives Gahan's titillating tour. There are two distinct synth hooks in World in My Eyes. One that is industrial and alluring, and the other that is spurring and urgent, with that perfect Gahan and Gore legendary vocal duo, whether together or separate. All the islands in the ocean, all the heavens in motion. Let me show you the world in my eyes. All the heavens in motion. World in My Eyes was the fourth single off Violator. That went to number 17 on the UK singles chart and mid-charted at number 52 on the Billboard Hot 100. What was wrong with this? I gotta tell you, I distinctly remember the day I bought this cassette. That's all I could afford was a cassette. I wasn't a CD guy yet. I excitedly slammed that cassette into my Walkman and I heard that mind-altering opener. I gotta tell you, my entire reality changed. Plenty of people know exactly what I'm talking about. As Gahan said, that's all there is. That's all there is. The sonic arousal of Violator continues with the sweetest infection of body and mind transmitted in the second cut titled Sweetest Perfection. The sweetest perfection. This wonderful, creeping ballad with a building snare beat features a desperate lead vocal by the song's author, Marty Gore. Sweetest Perfection, it's all about being powerless in the face of temptation. Sweetest injection of any kind. Whether it's a tempting of the flesh or a substance, there is a self-destructive air about this track in the way that Martin Gore narrates the danger of his uncontrollable urges. When I need a drug in me and it brings out the thug in me, feel something tugging me, then I want the real thing, not tokens. Gahan joins Gore in the pursuit of the sweetest perfection as the track weaves back and forth in a swirl of disoriented psychedelia before coming to a cold, abrupt ending. The lead single from Violator, Personal Jesus, actually preceded the album by 6 months. Reach out, touch faith. The song's opening line, reach out, touch faith, it's perhaps the most gripping ML Gore preamble. Dave Gahan as the benevolent prophet on an inspired lead vocal that just tattoos its resonance on your soul forever. Personal Jesus was the first track that the band began working on with Flood at the controls. Although it wasn't the first time that Depeche Mode had used guitars in a song, Personal Jesus was radically different in that it was the first time that a Depeche Mode song was dominated by a guitar riff. The sinister, stomping beat that flanks Personal Jesus, that was created by actual feet tromping on suitcases, layered with sample toms and an electronic snare. The song's arrangement, it was like a cross between rockabilly and gothic new romantic. Gothabilly, if you will. Pretty cool. Martin was inspired to write Personal Jesus, I guess after reading a passage in Priscilla Presley's book about her life with Elvis, Elvis and Me, bestseller there. She stated that Elvis was her own personal Jesus, and that statement, that really stuck with Martin, and he began to compose the song from there. People misinterpreted the song's actual message as sacrilegious, when it was much more nuanced. When Depeche Mode toured America on their Music for the Masses tour, Gore recalled seeing constant programming on television where televangelists were asking people to donate money for a Christian ministry all over the place. Martin believed that being a Christian or subscribing to any other religion should be a private affair. That is important to an individual, not as a vehicle for commercialism. He felt that the TV ministers were taking advantage of people at their most vulnerable, almost making a mockery of Christianity.
The day of miracles has come!
Gore turned Personal Jesus into a song about a deep, nurturing relationship where a person's heart is like a God that can heal another human being. Hence, your own personal Jesus, someone to hear your prayers, someone who cares.
Someone to hear your prayers, someone who cares.
Personal Jesus climbed to number 13 on the UK singles chart. It went to number 28 on the Billboard Hot 100. Should have been a number one hit, there's no question. Now, while the spaghetti western style video, that was in power rotation on MTV. As I mentioned, Violator is just full of electronic sleight of hand, clever sampling. For example, the heavy breathing section in the middle of Personal Jesus, that was a sample of the rhythmic breathing by Kate Bush that Martin Gore lifted from Kate's 1982 song, The Dreaming. The production crew also used drum samples from The Dreaming on Personal Jesus. Really cool thing. Next on the track listing is Halo. Very underrated track.
Like a halo in reverse.
Alan Wilder and Flood were obsessed with American hip-hop at that moment. They built whole sampled kits and rhythmic loops for songs on Violator that emulated the burgeoning hip-hop culture of the late 80s and the early 90s. The fascination with sampling is most apparent on Halo, I think, where Flood and Wilder placed a drum loop from Led Zeppelin's When the Levee Breaks. That was sampled on an unnamed rap record. Flood utilized his ARP 2600 synthesizer to produce a dramatic simulated string section and other modular synths on Halo. The string arrangement that accentuates the chorus on Halo is what Wilder called one of his favorite parts of Violator. Waiting for the Night. That follows Halo with what amounts to an illustrious Gone Gore duet.
I'm waiting for the night to fall.
The arrangement of Waiting for the Night was influenced by Wilder and Flood's admiration for the music of Tangerine Dream. There is delicate Tangerine Dream atmosphere to Waiting for the Night, which complements the song's theme of getting lost in the tranquility of the evening and then blocking out the dread of daily existence.
All that you feel is tranquility.
Staring at the moon and pinpointing one lone star that will guide you with its light and remind you that deliverance is nigh. Once again, Flood's ARP 2600 was essential for creating the meat of an arrangement when it came to Waiting for the Night. Alan Wilder accompanied the ARP by playing each chord change on an external keyboard. One of the unfinished songs that Martin Gore brought to the recording sessions for Violator, it was a gloomy piano ballad, with just Martin and a harmonium called Enjoy the Silence.
All I ever wanted, all I ever needed is...
The song was reimagined into a completely different track that was selected as the second single release from Violator.
All I ever wanted, all I ever needed is here.
When Alan Wilder first heard the Martin Ruff version, a cool little fact, he actually imagined Neil Tennant from Pet Shop Boys singing the song's chorus. I thought that was cool. All I ever wanted, all I ever needed is here in my arms. Alan thought the song would be much better with an upbeat, dance tempo than somber ballad, and that was genius. Flood was also keen on transforming the song with a pulsating, lusty groove arrangement. The revision turned Gore's dark demo into one of Depeche Mode's most haunting anthems. After the choir chords were incorporated to the energized music arrangement, Flood and Wilder suggested that Martin play some guitar over the track. So Martin came up with a riff that was icing on the cake. One of the most enduring guitar parts in alternative rock history printed. With applications in love, sex, pop music, and so many other facets of life, words are very unnecessary. They can only do harm. It's among the finest prose that Gore has ever penned. The sentiment of not spoiling the bliss of the moment with spoken word connected with listeners well beyond core DM fanatics and made Enjoy the Silence the band's highest charting single in the US, ascended to number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was another surge of growth for Depeche Mode, generated by the experimental spirit captured on Violator. And for my money, the band, when they were posing in the music video in black and white, it just redefined cool. It just gave a powerful declaration to the outcasts like you and me for once. On the third single from Violator, Policy of Truth, Martin Gore's guitar steals the show. It slices through the chorus with a 6-note switchblade riff. The melody is a sensational slide of tight electric rhythm. Policy of Truth is about keeping parts of yourself hidden and mysterious, unless you're prepared to pay the price of revealing the truth. As the Gospel of Gore warns us, you will always wonder how it could have been if you only lied. It's too late to change events. It's time to face the consequence for delivering the proof in the Policy of Truth. The song's progressive arrangement, it maintains a shadowy curiosity, even as David Gahan delivers one of the band's brightest choral hooks. Francois Kevorkian's mix of Policy of Truth, it's beyond fascinating. Bouncing off with a single note recorded on a guitar and then fed into a sampler, looped and fed into a keyboard that adds a bended vibrato. I swear, Depeche Mode could create sonic miracles with only one chord, one note. Policy of Truth kept the Violator hit machine churning for Depeche Mode. Single elevated to number 15 on the Billboard Hot 100, to number 16 in the UK, all the way to the top in Poland. The song also perched at number 1 on the Billboard Alternative and Dance Singles chart. Now the second to last track on Violator is Blue Dress. There is a sacred stillness between lovers where the world seems to vanish and everything is silent and ecstatic. It doesn't last long, but it's an experience to savor.
'Cause when you learn, you'll know what makes the world.
Martin Gore's Blue Dress illustrates those savory moments in flawless elegance. Softly asking his lover to put on his favorite sultry garment, and after expressing his delight, he lets the twisted soundtrack take over. The washy-sounding drone guitars on Blue Dress united with a sleazy electronic grind. It creates an intentional eroticism that ends with a series of bizarre, deviant cackles in one of DM's greatest album tracks. Now, the final track on Violator is Clean.
Now that I'm clean, you know.
Clean is a curtain call that owes much to Kraftwerk and, as the band openly admits, to Pink Floyd. The track features a bass riff that was borrowed from Floyd's One of These Days from their 1970 album Metal. Depeche Mode surrounded the bass riff with an unusual aural landscape, pelted with fragmented throb and whistle melodies and a mechanical electronic bass loop. Dave Gahan performs a lead vocal with intonations that are unique to only his delivery. The fact that his vocal is less altered electronically just gives his voice a refreshing purity. It's an impeccable finale for an equally immaculate album. Gahan admitted that the sessions for Violator were perhaps the cleanest that he'd ever been while recording a record with Depeche Mode. Just 6 years after the release of Violator, Dave fell so deep into drug addiction that he overdosed. He was unresponsive for 2 harrowing minutes before paramedics miraculously revived him from death. Violator just became a landmark album for Depeche Mode. It was the grand achievement that pioneering music man Daniel Miller believed that it could be all along. And to me, along with The Cure's Disintegration, The Smiths' The Queen is Dead, the defining masterpiece of New Wave period. The album shot to the top of the album chart in France and Greece, Belgium, and Spain. Rose to number 10 in the UK, number 7 on the Billboard 200. Violator was the first Depeche Mode album to sell over 1 million copies in America, eventually moving more than 3 million units in the States and more than 15 million worldwide. Anyone who has ventured beyond the edge of pop radio or colored outside of the auditory lines has a Depeche Mode Violator experience. I want to hear yours. Mine, I've told it previously, and it's no different since. I talk about my dad all the time, raising me on classic rock and roll. Well, Violator, that was my music. As Morrissey and the Smiths said on Panic, the music that they constantly play, it says nothing to me about my life. In 1990, at that moment in my life, a statement could not be more true about Top 40 radio. But Depeche Mode and the songs on Violator, they said everything to me about my life. David Gahan, Martin Gore, Alan Wilder, Andrew Fletcher, my generation's Fab Four. They knew exactly what I was going through and exactly what I needed to hear. All we had to do was lift up the receiver and this band would make you a believer. Reach out and touch faith indeed. Leave us a comment about this new wave masterpiece, about Depeche Mode. Let us know your memories. If you like this content, we do invite you to subscribe to be a part of this community celebrating music, interviews, the greatest artists breaking down the greatest songs. Click on the bell down below. Make sure to click on our Patreon link at the end so that you can see our new show there. Help us keep the music alive. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends. See you soon.